said that your people have been fighting for 400 years.
And your people too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the fuck I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I said by that. I ain't gotta go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Shit, don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that shit. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. It's fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day.
Guys, I want to go over ADOS and African American history in the United States. All right. You know, what I noticed a lot of the black Aboriginal Americans like to say that slavery in America didn't happen the way that we were taught. This picture right here is an African American who was a former slave. Does his back look like slavery happened like we weren't taught? Answer that question for me, right? Really? This person and his descendants, do you think they think that slavery wasn't taught the way that we were taught? All right. All right. So what I would like to say about African Americans are a new people. We came from Africa, not one specific place in Africa, from Morocco to Madagascar, from Mozambique to Nigeria to Ghana, all over the continent. And we mixed together a whole bunch of different ethnicities, ethnic groups, countries. And then we mixed with a little bit of European ancestry as well from our former enslavers. And some of us actually married into indigenous tribes. So we're a brand new people. Like if you were to go to Africa, I mean, we have some people that look similar to us, but we're no longer African. We're a new people. We're a mixed breed of people, all right? For the most part. There are some people in the Deep South that are almost 100% African. Even those people, they're a mix of tons of different countries. But African Americans can have European, African. Some of us actually have a little bit of Native American. Myself, I have a pretty good high percentage of Native American because my dad ancestors were indigenous. Amerindian, that's the correct term for it. That's the scientific term, Amerindian, not Aboriginal. Aboriginal is a new term that the black Aboriginals came up with out here in America. All right. But on this picture right here, this is a former slave. Looks like his back was tore up by his enslaver. All right. So does this look like slavery didn't happen the way that we were taught? Really? Really? That's the question I asked for everyone. All right. That's disrespectful for all our ancestors and this person's descendants. All right. Let me go to the next slide. Bye. Welcome back. Here's John B again with another edition of my Ancestry. And this video right here is in regards to ADOS ancestry. All right. This photo right here is a photo of my fourth great grandmother. Again, fourth great grandmother. Her name is Betsy Madison. All right. Well, Betsy Madison is the oldest photo I found of one of my former enslaved ancestors, so American descendant of slavery, ADOS. And what I'm gonna do today is I'm actually show you some documentation proving that I'm an American descendant of slavery. I have a documentation of my fourth great grandmother's owners. It's a will passing on my fourth great grandparents to their enslavers and their children. All right, let me show you that real quick and give you some information on their family. All right, Betsy Madison, she married my fourth great grandfather, Emmanuel Madison. He is supposed to be the grandson of John Madison, the former president. It's not documented or anything like that, but this is a family story. He's the grandson of John Madison, president. All right, let me go ahead and show you this real quick. All right, Jebediah Billingsley. All right, born in Enslaved County, North Carolina in 1780, moved to Sullivan County, Tennessee in 1787 with his parents. He married prior to 1804 and Marion Randolph, born in Western North Carolina, later East Tennessee, 1785. Randolph Urgasers, they raised in the Knox County in 1804, in Rutherford in 1808, and moved to Warren County about 1810, where they purchased land on a deed of land was made in 1813 and was witnessed by Nathan Randolph about 1817. They moved to Copper County, Missouri, and the movement there appears to be several others in the family who made a move. Definitely known are Elijah Randolph and his family, and his sister Jane Wood and her family, who are nephew and niece to wife Jebediah Billingsley. They raised in Copper County, Missouri to about 1827 to 28. They moved to Gibson County, Tennessee, where they resided until 1848. They moved to Bastrop County, Texas, where Marion died between 1851 and 1854. He married August 1856, Mrs. Agnes P. Britton, born in Kentucky in 1810, ceremony by Franklin Johnson, Justice of Peace, Williamson County, Texas. She had 3 children at the time of the marriage, i.e. Sarah L. 1844, Lucinian G. 1846, Agnes L. 1849. On January 1857, Liberfoes, which abstracted reads. This is going. So right now I'm gonna show you guys the will. So this was a little backstory about Jebediah Billingsley and his family, and let me show you the will, how it breaks down. All right, Emmanuel and Betsy. All right, so Emmanuel and Betsy are my fourth great grandparents, and as the will says, and there are 8 children, which is my third great grandfather is Giles Madison. He's in the will as well. All right, so 8 children. Jesse and Williams Billingsley to pay Jebediah Billingsley $900 per year of their hire during the lifetime, and at his death of his hires to be paid as follows: Tabitha Turner $500, Robert Billingsley $500, Elsie Billingsley $500, Mahala Northcutt held in trust, balance and value divided among Jesse Billingsley and Williams Billingsley. Mary C. Claiborne and Carol Billingsley, his to be held in trustee. In 1860, he was a resident of Williams County, Texas, and on the 5th of April, 1862, he executed his will. So executed a codicil 11th November 1862. Brief of this document reads: revoking all the wills and especially canceling that disposition of my property made in Bastrop County, January 13th, 1857. Jesse Billingsley is appointed attorney in fact during my life and executor of after my death. My son Jesse Billingsley slaves Emmanuel and Betsy to control. Okay, I want you guys to see this again. It says, my son Jesse and Billingsley slaves Emmanuel and Betsy to control for benefit of my wife Billingsley, daughter Tabitha Turner, Negro boy James. All right, son Elsie Billingsley, Negro boy Charlie. All right, 7 Elijah Billingsley, $100 in request of my executor to pay the same to him and his children of my first wife Emily, when he or they call for the same but not otherwise. 8 Jesse Billingsley to trust the benefit of 3 boys children of my son Carol with John Williams and Thomas Billingsley, Negro man Shelby. 9. Daughter Mahala Northcutt, $800 to be paid in 3 annual installments after the death with 10% interest from the date. All right. And number 10, Mary Claiborne, Negro man Henry. All right, so before I go any further, I actually have a photo of Henry. Henry is my 3rd great grandfather's brother. Oh, this is actually Mac Madison. Sorry about that. All right, so that's Henry. Okay, 11, Williams Billingsley, Negro boy Giles. So Williams B. Billingsley is the owner of my 3rd great grandfather based on this will. So Giles Madison is my 3rd great grandfather. He was actually a soldier in the colored troops in the Civil War. So he fought for African Americans' freedom during the Civil War, I found out. All right. Number 12, it says son Jesse Billingsley, Negro man Mac. All right, so let me go back to this picture right here. This is Mac Madison. This is a photo of my 3rd great grandfather's brother. He also fought in the colored troops for the Civil War. So he was born around 1837, died in 1912. All right. So 13, daughter Aretha Redford, Negro boy Young, provided she pay to my executor $250. Being informed of death of my son Robert Billingsley, who died without any children, leaving widow Frances Billingsley, it is not my desire to give anything to his widow Francis, but will give what I intended for him after designated. If any child resists carrying out the provisions of this will, they shall not inherit anything. All right. As son Jesse Billingsley, by my consent and request, advance $265 to my daughter Tabitha Turner for a trip to Tennessee on October 15th, 1856, that she pay out of property to her the $265. He died 25th October 1863, and this will be prohibited 14th April 1864. He is buried with the first wife, Cedar Creek, Bastrop County, Texas. No data as to death. Agnes, Mr. Katie M. Rock claims that 3 there. 4. Never be afraid to stand up for your ancestors, because they weren't afraid to lay down for you. This speaks volumes right here. All right. Our ancestors came from Africa to America and were enslaved. And they were treated less than human. They were treated like property. Let me give you an example today. All right. So let's say your grandparents passed away and they were to pass down some items to yourself, like a TV, a couch. Our ancestors were passed down like property. So whenever someone actually says that slavery didn't happen or didn't happen the way that we thought, that's disrespectful. That's disrespecting your ancestors, especially if you're a descendant of slavery, African descendant of slavery. All right. And what's so disappointing is a lot of people are really lost because they don't know. I don't blame the individual for being lost because they're unaware. But if you are lost, do your personal genealogy. Do your research. Everyone believes in Google. Google it. All right. And if you don't know your ancestors, find someone that will actually do the research for you and help you. Myself personally, I help people with finding their genealogy and research. I know in my last video, I actually was able to find an ancestor all the way back to Africa, which I know the Aboriginal community, they explained to me that they haven't seen anyone trace their ancestors all the way back to Africa. Myself, I found it. And I'm in a group where we find it every single day. People find their ancestors all the way back to Africa every single day through documentation. I know from like 1619 to about 1870, a lot of our ancestry was stolen, or not stolen in a sense, but in a way to where there was lost information. We weren't listed as a person. We're listed as property. So if I was to go back and look at my ancestors that I showed on the will, I go to Jebediah Billingsley. My ancestors are listed as property of his. Not listed by name, they're listed by age and number. That's why a lot of people can't find their actual ancestors, because they're not listed as an individual, they're listed as an age and a number. All right, that concludes this video.